Many artisanal miners in Uganda continue using mercury to extract gold. They find it a cheaper option in spite of the fact that it has tremendous effects to the human health and the environment in general. The Action Coalition on Climate Change has for the past 7 years been engaging for the artisanal miners from Mubende and Busia, adjacent communities and policy makers at local and central levels on issues of mercury. Much as Action Coalition on Climate Change has taken over the lead to sensitize artisanal mining communities on the dangers of using mercury in gold extraction, the task ahead is still enormous, and this calls for combined efforts from different stakeholders to fully enforce the Minamata Convention, to which Uganda is a signatory. To further enrich miners' knowledge on existing alternative technologies to mercury, Action Coalition on Climate Change led a delegation comprising of miners from Mubende and Busia, members of parliament and the media for a study tour in Tanzania Geita to benchmark on the most viable alternative technologies and other best practices in gold mining.
How best our fellow miners handling the issue of hazardous chemicals like cyanide, like mercury, so that the environment, the mining community is not affected.
One of the main factors is when they use the alternative method that using vat leaching plants or cyanidation, and that they normally get more than what they get when they use mercury. So to them, getting more is more important.
Tanzania has a lot to benchmark on when it comes to mining. The Line Ministry works so closely with the miners to ensure there is a high level of transparency. Officials from the ministry attest to how the established relationship has fostered development in the mining and adjacent communities.
Whatever they produce goes to the community. Okay? They have 0.3% for service levy. 0.3% of the gross value of what they have produced goes to the service value, the service levy. But 0.7% this covers what we call corporate social responsibility. We have also some small-scale miners who, by themselves, they have been told that you have to share what we are getting here. So they used to do some projects around building schools, classes, and all that.
While at Sangano Gold Mine Project, the most successful in promoting alternatives to mercury use, the delegation was introduced to a number of alternative technologies to mercury. Such technologies include Cyanidation, Nelson concentrator, and the shaking table. In instances where mercury is used, it's highly done in an appropriate way, including retorts, and thus it's not exposed to the environment in any way, and it's recycled.
This is what we call a retort. We normally use a retort for burning the amalgam containing mercury from the first stage. So, firstly, we normally put the gold amalgam into this small pot. It depends on the amount of gold you have, but you can put small until you finish the process. So we put the gold amalgam into this small pot, then we close it here, ready for burning. So after closing it completely, not allowing air to come in or out, then we place this equipment very close to the charcoal. So when we start burning, we have to pour some water into this. Maji yakishaweka katika bomba hili nene, kazi yake ni kupoza hili bomba la ndani. Kwa hiyo ukishachemsha huku kwa kutumia mkaa, ukishachoma dhahabu, mercury ambayo inatoka kwenye hiki chombo kwa chini inapita katika bomba hili nene na kuifanya ipoe. Ikishapoa basi inakuwa katika mfumo wa kimiminika, inatoka kwenye mfumo wa hewa kwa kwenye mfumo wa kimiminika, na baadaye sasa mercury inakuwa imekusanya upande wa pili na iko tayari kwa matumizi ya kuchenjua tena kwa awamu nyingine. Kwa hivyo kifaa hiki kinazuia mercury isije kasambaa kwenye mazingira yetu. Here we are is at battery leaching processing, another technology of processing gold. We started from there, the first stage, by using mercury, but here we have just little advanced, we are using cyanide. So here we have gold, copper, sulfur, and a small zinc. So we are fighting with copper by using the high quantity of cyanide and the lime. So we have some chemists here. They normally keep on working and they mix those chemicals with very special care. We couldn't have been here without those chemics, because we have been exposed to very high, dangerous chemicals. So here we are just leaching. After leaching, the gold turns into liquid form by using the power of chemicals. So that liquid mixes up with water, then it goes into the carbon chambers.
Among the process of purifying gold, you use sulfuric acid. And for us in Uganda, people have misused sulfuric acid to the extent of using it to burn their friends and, if anything, killing them in dubious activities.
And how are you effectively managing these other chemicals at this facility? Because if you are doing cyanide, it is associated with different chemicals.
Yes.
And how do you manage it? What is your policy? How do you manage it effectively to ensure that it doesn't harm the people and the environment?
Yeah, actually those chemicals are very hazardous, because once you cannot control them, it can cause very bad effect to the people, even the environment. So to me, as in Sangana Gold Mining Project, I normally use the very skilled people to make sure that they are controlling all those chemicals in a very proper way. And sometimes I use it to train them how to protect by themselves in the environment, so that they can use the chemicals in a very good way, so that they cannot make any pollution to the environment or to affect the people.
So the melting point of gold is 85 centigrades. So we used 120 centigrades. After being heated, the water in this tank, the gold becomes into the liquid. It melts from the carbon to the liquid. Okay? After this liquid, passes through this pump, it goes up to this box. This box here is where the gold are extracted from the liquid. So we have got here these lots.
The above-mentioned alternative technologies to mercury can well be adopted and replicated by many artisanal and medium-scale miners in Uganda who still use mercury that carries multiple hazards to both the environment and human beings.
The alternatives to mercury use here have been enormous, and we only initially thought that it is mercury, but here people have different alternatives, and these different alternatives, sincerely, if they are adopted by our miners with the support from the relevant government agencies, it will be actually important in promoting responsible mining that protects the welfare and the health of the workers, while at the same time maximizing the benefits for the citizens and for the development of the economy. We've brought some few members of parliament, some leaders of artisanal miners, and some leaders from the local governments, from Busia and Mbende. Our next engagement is we shall go to Parliament to engage other members of Parliament who have not had a chance to come here. Then in the same note, we shall also be able to go to different local governments in Busia and Mbende to provide evidence-based trip of this kind to ensure that they also adopt those alternatives. That way, we shall be doing a very good job, because at the end of the day, we want the eventual elimination of mercury from the gold miners, and at the same time, we also do want Uganda to implement the Minamata Convention, which it ratified.
Honorable Gaffa Mbatekama, a legislator representing Kasambia in Mubende with many gold mining communities, was so impressed and committed to table a bill that bans the use of mercury before Parliament, highlighting a number of things learned from Tanzania that he believes will give the mining sector a new face in Uganda.
I think Tanzania is doing things differently, and we have a lot to learn as Ugandans from Tanzania. One, we've found out that on ground there is serious inspection, right out from the local government, the central government, to know what is transpiring as far as gold mining is concerned here. Well, we've also found out that the management has put up effective measures as far as occupational safety is concerned of its employees or its workers. Everything, they try to protect their employees. You can find they have an ambulance. You can see the helmets we are putting on. Everything, and they have even all the signs in every places to caution any employee or any visitor, you shouldn't be here, this one is dangerous. So I think they are doing it well. I'm going to come up with a motion. I'm going to request for the space, come up with a motion, table it on the floor of Parliament, urging government to compel Ugandans, whether artisanal miners or on large scale or on small scale, to make sure we can phase out the use of mercury. And even government to come up with more sensitization campaigns about alternative methods we can use as Ugandans, and we leave mercury use in mining. In my motion, I must bring in a component of some mining companies or people with licenses to incorporate or to include the part of one, local content, and corporate social responsibility. What are they giving back to the community? Because we found here in Tanzania that for them they've gone an extra mile, that every company with a license, it must be having a certain percentage, it must give back to the community.
The delegation believes the tour was timely and very much needed in such a critical time where effects of mercury usage in Uganda have started manifesting among the miners.
The best practice I have learned here is hazardous waste management, how it is managed and how government comes in to help, and how usually and how frequently government comes in to ensure that this the waste material and the hazardous chemicals are not split into the environment for the people.
Sincerely, I think it's high time we also woke up to ensure that we have responsible mining and of gold, while at the same time helping in avoiding the dangerous chemicals which may be detrimental to our health in short and long run.